musica. Chiamo Martin Scorsese.
No.
C'est une femme, avec une légère barbe, mais poitrine et sexe féminin.
The return of Hollywood's favorite heartthrob archaeologist, a spoof of politics and cinema from Italy's Nanni Moretti, and a French drama that asks why women can't be priests. That's all coming up on today's film show. I'm joined, as always, by our film critic, Lisa Nesselson. Lisa, hello.
Hello.
And Lisa, you are starting off with what I believe was one of your highlights from Cannes, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. You say Harrison Ford was obviously deeply moved by the festival's special tribute to him. Apparently, though, the critical reaction to this film was mixed. What did you think?
Well, I enjoyed it, and I didn't find out until afterwards that apparently I shouldn't have. One often hears that reviews don't matter, but that hasn't stopped serious academics from analyzing their effect. A recent study in marketing letters was summarized thus on study.org. Quote, movie reviews posted by professional critics are usually a fairly accurate predictor of how a movie will fare at the box office. But researchers from the University of California, Davis are surprisingly turning that notion on its head. Their study actually found the exact opposite. Bad reviews often predict hits, while positive reviews signal a film will flop. End quote. It's a little late for me to change professions. I have a confession to make, and it's not going to take a mad genius Nazi scientist like the one played by Mads Mikkelsen to get it out of me. Until now, I've never really liked the character of Indiana Jones or the concept. This is the fifth and final installment. Let's take a look.
Times in my life I've seen things.
I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father. Sorry.
But I've been looking for this all my life.
So it looks like a very nostalgic plunge back into that world. Obviously, this movie could not have been made without Harrison Ford.
Fair enough. When Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981, Harrison Ford was already a box office draw due to his role in Star Wars. I think he's a wonderful actor, but I much prefer him in Witness or K-19 The Widowmaker, in which he plays a Russian submarine captain, or Frantic, set entirely in Paris, and, of course, Blade Runner. Here we know it's 1969 in New York because there's a ticker tape parade outside for the moon landing astronauts, and he takes off his shirt, which at age 80 is not an unpleasant sight. He's kind of a hunk. Indy teaches at a university, and he's about to retire, but a very well-informed yet mysterious woman with a British accent, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is in his classroom. The 3 central characters are very well cast. The still-determined Nazi, the fetching and also very motivated woman. Well, who is she exactly? There are some indications that the explorer racket has changed, but the spirit is still very, very retro. We witness an incident at the end of World War II in flashback that's not half bad as an inspiration for a story set in the late 1960s. The Dial of Destiny, crucial. Throw in the space-time continuum in the red wire, blue wire countdown tradition with action, suspense, exotic locations, good guys, bad guys, and one of the most recognized musical scores around, and you've got an exemplary popcorn flick. Goodbye, Indy. Story's done. Can't rescind all those years of fun. Digging up stuff is a blast, but you're not quite a relic at last.
I think that composer John Williams, Lisa, would fully approve of that rousing musical send-off for Indiana Jones. Thank you very much. Our next film also premiered at Cannes. A Brighter Tomorrow is from Italian writer and director and actor Nanni Moretti. He makes comedies and dramas, Lisa. What category does this one fall into?
bittersweet comedy. Moretti has been called Italy's answer to Woody Allen, whose work he references along with his own previous films. Moretti plays Giovanni, a film director. His wife of many decades, Paola, is played by Margherita Bai. She's also his producer, and his current film is Bogged Down. The film within the film is set in left-wing circles in the 1950s when at least 2 million Italians were members of the Communist Party and presumably believed in the brighter tomorrow of the title.
All right, well, let's take a look at that bittersweet comedy from Nanni Moretti.
Giovanni, stare con te è diventato sempre più difficile.
Ma io sono così faticoso come dice mamma?
Beh, insomma, diciamo che con te uno ha sempre la sensazione di camminare su una corda tesa.
Musica! Chiamo Martin Scorsese.
No.
Quale scena d'amore? Questa è una scena in cui parlate di politica.
Ma chi se ne frega della politica? Questo è un film d'amore.
It looks like a lot of fun, and Lisa, you said there are a lot of references in this film. Can the average filmgoer who's unfamiliar with Moretti or with the interworkings of the Italian Communist Party follow what's going on?
I'd say yes, because Moretti has built the fight against historical ignorance into his script. He knows that today's young people are barely aware of the once glorious political struggles of the past, and he knows most filmgoers accept that extreme violence is perfectly okay in movies, something he finds a very clever way to challenge. I'll admit to having a soft spot for absolutely anybody who satirizes the business model of Netflix, and Moretti has a blast with that. Giovanni has no idea. He's so self-centered that his wife has had it with him and wants a divorce. I'd add that Moretti probably wasn't plunged into grief over the recent death of Silvio Berlusconi. He organized street protests against him in 2002 and played him, not in a flattering manner, in one of the portraits of the then prime minister in 2006's Il Camano.
Okay, Il Camano, another Moretti film to add to the list as well. Next, we're going to look at a film about breaking boundaries in the Catholic Church. Magnificat is about what unfolds when a priest dies and the church learns that he was actually a woman. As the hierarchy seeks to cover it up, a female chancellor reckons with the role of women in the institution. Brian Quinn has more.
It begins with the death of a priest.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Certificat de décès.
Il y a une erreur.
Non. Vous pouvez vérifier.
The chancellor of a French diocese, played by Karine Viard, uncovers an unimaginable truth. The deceased has lied about his identity.
C'est une femme, avec une légère barbe, mais poitrine et sexe féminin.
Shocked by the news, Charlotte launches an investigation. How could a woman have become a Catholic priest?
Charlotte has to confront this reality. She's always done what's expected of her. She's been a good member of the flock, a servant of the church, and she comes to realize the level of oppression of women in the Catholic Church. And she asks, can't we change something? And the hierarchy basically says, you must be crazy.
Vous en avez parlé à quelqu'un?
Ah non, à personne.
François Berléand plays the bishop, a sensitive man who must nonetheless protect the church by covering up the truth. In the real world, some women do lead Catholic Mass, like here in Sweden, in Colombia, and even in France in 2005. Activists who faced excommunication by the Vatican. In 2016, Pope Francis reaffirmed Rome's unchanging position.
The final answer on this was given by John Paul II, and it remains the same.
In Magnificat, director Virginie Sauveur challenges this liturgical glass ceiling.
In the West, the one area where it's a clear final no for women is the priesthood. As filmmakers, it was exciting to call out this taboo.
Je cherche une certaine Mathilde Moineau.
As she seeks out the truth, Charlotte never questions her faith, only daring to dream that her church might accord women the right to spread the word of Christ as the equals of men.
And we end this week with a re-release of a classic French film. Lisa, despite its title, The Samurai has nothing to do with Japan. It's actually a neo-noir vision of Paris from over 50 years ago.
I'd say you can't go wrong with this director, Jean-Pierre Melville, who was a genuine independent producer of his own work, who died in 1973 at age 55, because all of his films are worth seeing, especially this one. For starters, it stars Alain Delon, whose beauty serves to reinforce his enigmatic power. Delon plays a hitman who lives in a Spartan Paris apartment with a bird in a cage for company. Now, he's known for his airtight alibis, but he is witnessed after carrying out a murder, and now somebody wants to kill him. The mood is built brilliantly without much dialogue. Melville knows exactly how to use light to tell a very dark tale. Much of the film was shot in Melville's own studios, which burned down under suspicious circumstances during the making of the film. Now, when the Cannes Film Festival gave Delon its honorary Palme d'Or in 2019, Delon said he joined Melville in the street to watch the disaster, his property, his archives up in smoke, and Melville was most upset about the bird who was caged and perished in the fire. The Samurai has directly inspired other filmmakers, from Jim Jarmusch to Antoine Corbin to Nicholas Winding Refn, which is really not bad for a movie made in 1967.
Sounds like a must-see classic, and I never say no to Alain Delon. We'll leave you with the visual punch of Jean-Pierre Melville's The Samurai. Thank you, Lisa, as always. Thanks to all of you for watching. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Vient d'entrer dans l'immeuble du 1 rue Lord Byron.
Qu'est-ce que je dois faire, chef?
Rien. Je vais tout arranger.
En France.